Hello and welcome to a new episode. It's already episode 4. It is episode 4. I'm so addicted to this game that I don't even know what episode number it is. We are going to head to... Oh, never mind. We're getting stopped. Lord Captain, there's some commotion on the officer's deck. The Lady Navigator has left her quarters and is currently in the wardroom, where uninitiated crew members are shunning her in terror. Perhaps you should find out what has brought Cassia to the deck. What an elegant bow.
Lord Captain, my apologies. I did not notice your entrance.
I see you're fond of reading.
Oh, this. I found this fascinating read on one of the shelves, and I must say, it has caught my eye. Its every chapter is written in verse. I find it so beautiful and enrapturing.
Continue.
Urak 5 had a vast archive of its own, of course. Although most of the works within had to do with scholarly disciplines of some sort or another. Only in my sparse moments of respite was I allowed to escape into the pages of more embellished...
Let's ask how she's doing.
One should not underestimate the navigators of House Orselio, Lord Captain. Like a shawl of pale smoke, a faint malaise hangs upon my shoulders, but it will not be the slightest hindrance to my duty to humanity, and my duty to you.
So she's trying to create a distance. Your only attendant is your valet from Urak 5. My servants measure up to your standards.
No, it is not that at all, Lord Captain. It is just that Uwe is quite capable of carrying out his duties by himself. He is well accustomed to my whims and preferences.
Okay, let's not overanalyze, but there's probably more to her than we thought. Oh, we gained 20 experience. A perception check. See, I still don't know what the meaning of this is. Cassia cringes ever so slightly, adjusts the adornment on her forehead, then awkwardly hides her clawed fingers in the folds of her clothes. The unnatural appearance of the navigators often becomes a topic of gossip among lowly servants and officers alike. It is unsurprising, then, that Cassia prefers the company of one who is used to how she looks. Okay, that's the whims and preferences that she was a bit worried about, or at least part of it. I hope you have ample time to calm yourself and your powers.
There are people on this ship who are far more impulsive and dangerous to others, and far less devoted to the God Emperor than a herald of the Navis nobility. But I did not need your words to see the shades of umber unease that whirl around your subjects whenever I am near. Were I not acquainted with such a reaction, I could have found their behavior and your question just now insulting.
I'm sorry?
Lord Captain, would you kindly explain to me why you are pestering me with these questions? Inquiring about my mood and my needs, showing an interest in the books I am enjoying. You are behaving as if you possessed a shred of fellow feeling for one such as I.
Well, you are my companion.
I beg your pardon, Lord Captain. That was no way for a navigator to conduct herself.
Okay, so that I suppose is the romance start for Cassia, perhaps. You have nothing to apologize for. Human emotion is natural. Quite right, so I would ask you. Okay, so we can either end the conversation, say no to her, or the degrees of no here, and then the degrees of being nice. Do I want a romance with her? I don't know the potential other ones, and I haven't had long to learn about her. Sure, we can start a romance.
Lord Captain, so many colorful sparks are flaring to life and dimming all around you. It is a veritable ocean of emotions. There are so many of them that I can barely see the pure white sincerity of your words.
Continue.
Please forgive me. I cannot even understand myself right now. Your words and attention have reminded me of life on the station, of Theobald and Felek. I do not understand. They were merely the keepers of Urak 5. So, why do memories of those two make me feel a strange heaviness here?
I am gonna cut more often than I'm used to, or at least in the beginning. I'm gonna try to focus more on the quote-unquote important dialogues, if I can find them, or at least identify them. The maps themselves, and perhaps the action, of course. And also the companion dialogue, because I have, prior to this point, just focused on length of footage. I have or in one session I played 4 hours, which was episode 2 and 3, and there's barely any edits, if at all any. So I will try to keep the flow of the game going a bit more so we don't end with 200 episodes, unless there's a expression of interest in me reading every single dialogue option I can while recording.
At the same time, I find myself overwhelmed with new excitement and anticipation. At last, I have set foot outside my familiar walls and into a world that I have only seen before in the pages of books. Your ship alone is a treasure trove of remarkable artifacts and curiosities. And just imagine the things that await beyond, but my delight must seem childish to you, surely. In your heart, you must be finding all this quite amusing.
Let's not pick that option right there. I'm surprised it's even in there. This is Owlcat at its finest. Let's go with the more calmed romance approach, shall we say.
Words like that, Lord Captain, could easily be misconstrued. You should familiarize yourself with some of the works in your library to learn the appropriate manner of conversing with a lady.
Is this an effect of her emotions, of her surprise thingy, perhaps? This little effect around? Because she's like a mutant mage thingy. Oh, yep, I did. I got a. You can't see it, but I got a romance start achievement. I wonder if you heard the achievement pop. But the achievement definitely gives me the idea that I started a romance with her. Oh, there's goods. Let's read this, shall we? I think I might do a separate playlist of the lore. So I suppose I will split the recording up here and then just have the Secret of Gallant Conduct in my next little playlist. Let's continue and take a brief look around the premises of where we were and see if we can find some loot or perhaps something. Let's resume our journey to Ricard Minoris. There's a scan required. I wonder what that means. Oh, Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. It's pandemonium outside the bridge gate. One of the officers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Viserian's voice. In any case, I wanted to warn you in advance. Thank you for that, Victors. Let's go take a look at that then. And here we are. The epic turnaround. This is not the conduct of an officer. They are antics of a high-born brat out on a lark. Explain yourself, Lieutenant. I apologize, sir, but I must speak to the Lord Captain. The young woman standing before Abelard strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of her superior's anger. She falters, but then manages to look him in the eye and say the following. Very well, Lieutenant. You may address the Lord Captain, not at least because I see you have already seen fit to disturb him. Your unauthorized appearance on the bridge and display of belligerence toward a higher-ranking officer will be logged on your personal file without delay. Damn, Abelard is ruthless. Lord Captain, Lieutenant Avrilla Vent requesting permission to speak. Vent falls silent and then adds rashly, on a matter of extreme importance and urgency. Let's mediate between the two. We want a fair discussion here. I'm sorry, Lord Captain. I thought that drastic times called for drastic measures. Vent exclaims hotly. This matter cannot wait. Any minute now, an assault unit will be dispatched to the lower decks in order to crush the worker strike by any means necessary. But I am convinced that this step is unwarranted and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a skeptical huff. He glances at Sauerback, who is standing not far from him, but she maintains a stony expression. Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of Seneschal Viserion and to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny or a massacre on our hands. Vent reels off of her last words as though that she knows them by heart. She has clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she is finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard, then at you. Let's not jump to conclusions and say how did all this start. The situation could boil over at any minute, so I'll give you a condensed version. It all began when the enforcers found a cultist amulet on the body of someone who'd been killed in a drunken brawl. We reported it up to the chain immediately, arranged for cleansing rite to be performed, and opened an investigation. No heretics have been found alive, but the search has brought tensions between enforcers and workers to a head. Let's say there's an insurrection in the making, and no one has informed me. I would not deem it a problem worthy of the rogue trader's attention. That's a dangerous outlook. The lower decks, as it so happens, are in revolt. 30-some years ago, we even had a revolutionary leader rise up who dared to establish workers' rule across the entire ship. It took a month to restore order, but even 8 years later, we are still battling rumors that the hero had survived his execution and was on the verge of gathering people to fight against tyranny once more. Abelard scoffs. Needless to say, the rumors were baseless. As for the current situation, we have sufficient enforcers to deal with it. But on this ship, the word of the Lord Captain carries more weight than a salvo from 100 bolters. I'm sure that if the rogue trader addresses the malcontents directly, he will quell the unrest. Fair point. I dread to think what problem you will disturb the rogue trader with next. Perhaps you will ask the Lord Captain to break up brawls in the mess room. I've already given you the means to resolve this problem. You simply need to use them. If I may, your lordship, sending a hit squad to crush the rebellion is a means of ignoring the problem, not solving it. So I guess this is culminating in following Abelard's wishes of sending a squadron, or appearing there in person, which will probably have him be slightly discontent with that approach, but it'll probably boost morale if that's a stat. Where does Seneschal Viserion come into all of this? I shall explain, Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry, time is running out. I will not hurry, since my competence is under scrutiny. I shall speak for as long as I see fit. There's an established order to see the way things are done in the ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that of the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. It is the Seneschal's role to ensure that. I have always handled internal problems myself, so of course, when I received information about cultists hiding on the lower decks, I took the matter in hand. So long as I live, not one of the vermin who murdered Theodora von Valencius will find refuge on her ship. You were far too heavy-handed. Seneschal Viserion arrests, interrogations, mass punishment for entire sectors. It has driven the people to the brink, Vent says bitterly. Now there's a strike on the lower decks, in Depot 4 to be precise. 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection, but when I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force. Abelard, what do you have to say to all this? I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority, guided exclusively by the best interest of your protectorate and your personal safety. Well, that's your viewpoint, but sure. And her viewpoint is something else. I'm trying to figure out what's the best solution. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions for yourself, I have no objections. For my part, I urge the Lord Captain to go down to the lower decks, stop the assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they are not lying or harboring heretics. That way, you will stop the uprising before it begins. What is Depot 4? Depot 4 is one of the poorest sectors, of course, on the lower decks. It is home to clans of several general laborers. They are not as valuable to the ship as the families who have served its specialized systems for generations. They are an easily replaceable resource, and one which is now, more besides, giving succor to our cultists and minions of the arch-enemy. Depot 4 is poor and troubled, but at worst that means drunken fights and illegal rotgut brewing. We have handled the workers of Depot 4 in the past. We would have done so again if the crackdown on Depot 4 hadn't been so harsh. And another important point to bear in mind, the problem is not limited to this sector. It is located on one of the most populated lower decks, and everything that happens there has a knock-on effect on all the neighboring sectors. Let's ask the Master-at-Arms. Lord Captain, unlike Lieutenant Vent, I respect the chain of command and realize that it is not within my right to challenge my superiors. Saulbach bows her head in Abelard's direction. However, a moment later, a serpentine smile appears on her lips. Oh, she has alternative motives. That being said, while I entirely share Master Viserian's opinion on what fate Depot 4 deserves, I must note that this insubordination is a direct consequence of practices that he himself has introduced. Mistress Saulbach, I see you are now decided to follow the lieutenant's example after all. Such behavior does you no credit. Let's ask Saulbach to explain herself. The ship's regulations state that the Master of Arms is responsible for resolving all matters related to the ship's enforcers, and yet it is no secret that the Seneschal has a tendency to show partiality. Those enforcers and officers whom he has deemed particularly promising are at times given permission to approach him for tutelage. Ew, Abelard, if that's true, that's bad. I cannot deny Master Viserian's experience and insight. The Seneschal has a record of fostering students who has indeed achieved much and demonstrated impeccable performance. However, extending such patronage over the head of the immediate superior encourages disregard for hierarchy among your lordship's servants. Today an enforcer goes to the Seneschal to report an order for the Master-at-Arms that they happen to disagree with. Tomorrow they will go to the Lord Captain to object to the Seneschal's order. I notice a pattern in these actions. And what do you have to say to that, Abelard? Mr. Saulbach, can you recall an occasion where it would encourage an officer to disobey their superior, or one where it would overrule the order, or show favoritism to show them who merited none? None, Seneschal, for there have been no such cases in the entire time I have served aboard this ship. If anyone were to claim otherwise, I would have them pay for insulting your honor with blood. Your conduct in this regard have always been spotless. Nevertheless, given your eminent position, a simple show of attention on your part is enough to erode the propriety of your junior officers, inflate their senses of self-importance, and undermine discipline. That you distinguish some of them and know them by name is tantamount to walking around the officers' deck handing out gifts to officers who have caught your eye. It fills those you set apart with ambition and audacity, makes them stand out among the rest. Enforcers are meant to be faceless servants, fighters ready to die. I wouldn't quite agree to that, but I get the point, and it's probably relatable to their universe. Their fate entrusted to their commander and no one else. That is the sole foundation of order. Would you say that the Seneschal has singled you out from your peers in any way? Lord Captain, I swear that from Seneschal Viserian has never granted me any privileges, never once advocated for me, nor facilitated my promotion, although he is the man who convinced me to become an officer in the first place. He has offered me extensive guidance in my service, for which I am grateful to him, and while not all my fellows receive such attention, I know of at least a dozen of fine officers whom the Seneschal keeps in his sights to ensure that they continue to strive. To prepare new generations of the dynasty's servants, to instruct them, and to separate those with potential from those who exhausted it, that is my duty as Seneschal. This ship has bays worthy of pilots, enforcers, and officers, technicians, and stewards whom I have raised personally. By the throne, every third person standing on this bridge right now was my student at one point. I see. Evidently, my officers are anything but a shining example of unity, and here it's today. I have only myself to blame, I suppose. I think... this is a tough decision. I'm sure this might come back and bite me in the ass, but I'm gonna go to the lower decks and address it personally. Praise the Emperor. Event cannot contain a relief. Thank you, Lord Captain. Abelard grits his teeth slightly. I thought as much. An enterprise boarding on the sophomoric, but please yourself, Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist that I escort you. Well, you can do that. Lord Captain, I regret that the enforcers were unable to handle the situation, which then led to you and your Seneschals to in words, so many of them, involvement. I consider it my duty to go to Depot 4 myself and see the expedient resolution of this incident. Phew! Oh shit, it's like a proper quest. Ouch! I smashed my foot against my table leg. I mean, there's no point in not choosing all of them, surely. Let's get them all in line here. However, before we continue on, I know I picked up a lot of stuff from yesterday, so I will, my yesterday, but in episode 3 and 2. So I'll briefly take a look at that. Alright, with a little bit of swapping back and forth. I think we're ready to... Oh, okay, immediately we go into whatever happens here. Here, it's Viserion. Take that, scum. Oh, I knew it. It's an ambush. This is all of his fault. All of it. So what's the effect we get from this? Am I just gonna stand in it? Okay. The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret that we cannot replace the locus with servitors. Okay, that is a bit mindless cybernetic drones created from a fusion, so we basically slavery. Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture, and a tittling one. A rare moment where he allows his age and weariness to show through his armor like veneer of self-assurance. Did you hear? They were shouting your name. Of course they were. The organization of the daily, routine life of the ship rests upon my shoulders. The mountain of challenges and problems from which I endeavor to insulate you, Lord Captain. The situation on the lower decks have been a cause of concern, and I have intervened personally on more than one occasion. That must be why they remember me. They do not know your face. To them you are akin to a creature of legend, one who has stood on top of the steps on the golden throne, no less, whereas I am the man whose name is attached to every order docking rations or lowering base heating. Let's keep moving. We need to get to the bottom of this. Is there no... Okay, what can we learn? Something resembling a nest made of thermal insulation material. This must be where the workers sleep between shifts. Is there no effect on him? I suppose not. It was just alcohol or something that they threw at us. Well, there's a valve there, and a valve there, and some stuff, and a valve here. Huge pipes. The arteries of the ship run through many bays, delivering air, water, heat, and the propulsive force of steam. Greetings, your graces. Surely we ought to turn that steam off so we can go down there, no? This place is rather big. Abelard, are you done singing? Dares? Wait, what did I spot? Can I interact with this? I don't think so. A container can be seen beyond the massive bars. Perhaps examining the pipe will allow you to reach it. But I thought I clicked it. Did I not? Am I... maybe this pipe? Okay. Confusion. Let's open this door. I meant open this door and go through it. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Let's move down a bit. There's some goods there. Can we talk to any of them? Okay, they just have normal dialogue. We have a machine right set. Let's put that over there. And then some cargo. I don't think I can interact with these valves. I might just be doing it completely wrong though. Okay, let's head back up to that door then, I suppose. I don't really know what my quest is here. Go to the site of the conflict with Essential, deal with the situation. A junior officer subverts standard protocol to... Right, we have to survey this area, so let's try and do that. A container can see... I'm sure I can interact with these valves at some point, but maybe just not now. Wow, nobles from the upper deck, wow! Let's see, whoop, we got a cutscene. The sounds of a heated discussion reverberate through the ship's bays. Lieutenant, a real event on the ships and forces is bearing off the path of her superior master at arms, Jocasta Sourback, who has arrived clad in armor. Judging by their expressions and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time already and has now reached the boiling point. Lieutenant Vent, my patience is wearing thin. I have given you an order, now get out of the way. I cannot comply with that order, ma'am. Vent looks shaken, but there is a fire in her eyes. This is my deck and my sector. So long as this area remains under the Lord Captain's special oversight, no action can be taken without my express permission. There are only 3 people who are authorized to make me stand down. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself. So not all of my lessons fall on deaf ears. Abelard mutters in crappy approval. He does not clarify whether he means Vent, Sourback looming over her, or both. Your lordship, noticing you, the 2 officers snap to attention and salute, the subordinates following suit a moment later. What's the situation? Your lordship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control as far as resources allow. Under control, Lieutenant? I came here to lead an army investigation, or lead an investigation unit. And what do I see? The Rabble is on verge of mutiny. There's nothing to investigate. This simply calls for immediate repressions and firing squads. And you, Vent, are a step away from facing charges yourself. Let's try and pray our Lord and Savior and try and speak to them. Abelard's mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says nothing. He's not happy. Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck. Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes. So there's definitely some combat soon. What was the progress update? We got to the site. Gotcha. Oh, here we are then. A dozen pairs of eyes apprehensively at you. Stare apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower deck. You check in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from the barely discernible to the strange to the outright grotesque. Well, that's just rude. Our children are freezing, we've done nothing wrong, and we're being punished. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you can detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from their crowd, an elderly woman and 2 men. There must be the leaders, or these must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you. Lord Captain, you have come down to us. Tell me what's troubling you. Striking? That's news to us, your lordship, says a tall, thin man in a worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think. Shut up, Rivet, snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you. Here's the deal, your lordship. Your damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for cultists. One wrong word and they're reaching down for their batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating to whole bays for a week at a time, so we get sick and freeze. In my clan, 2 little ones have died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers. The old woman spits on the floor and rubs her on the spittle with a toe on her worn-out shoe. Argentis does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes when the children's deaths are mentioned. She quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It's all true. Vent is the only enforcer we've stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks and who grew up amidst ships and has no fellow feeling toward us. The grim man with a scarred face throws up his arms. Your lordship, we're no villains here, we're honest workers. Your servants. We've plotted no disorder, we went on strike openly, and now we've got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace without being harassed. Let's inquire about the cultist amulet. A cultist amulet? What's that? The gewgaw they found in the dead drunkard? If it was something evil or forbidden, we sure didn't know. The enforcers just said they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. But how could there be heretics here? We know our own people. There have never been new faces around. Definitely not, and if there were, we'd been the first to report them. And as for this amulet or whatever it is, they took it off a dead body. There are no cultists still breathing in this sector, that's for sure. But when that fight broke out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies, the boots they came back with. Nobody's ever tread these decks in boots so fine, I can tell you that. Seems to me these cultists have better commanders than us. So if they are cultists, they might have been planted with fancy clothes to get the lower decks to be envious of their fancy clothes and better lifestyles, perhaps. That could explain this mutiny, insurrection. Oh yeah, those boots were really fine, and there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, it must have been pocketed by someone who didn't know any better. We don't really need any amulets down here. We all worship the Emperor, and when we are working, we bow down before the machine spirits of the large and small transformers and their servo motor. The same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by a tech priest who came calling. Believe us, your lordship, we are people of faith. Naive children, weren't you taught from an early age about the dangers of an arch-enemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them? We were told, holy sister, but it was a long time ago. Last time we saw a confessor in our sector, it was just after I'd had my third little one. That is regrettable, but you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of the Holy Fathers. Who will you blame when priests call out of those amulets you stole from the heretic? The Holy Father who was not there, or the scavenger who brought evil down on himself and his neighbors? What do you think, Abelard? I authorize the use of all necessary measures to locate Chaos worshippers hiding in this sector. The specific steps taken by the officers were not reported to me. Abelard frowns, clearly disgruntled at having to explain himself in the workers' press. Ooh, I shall keep that in mind. Nevertheless, I am certain that their actions were justified. Cultists are no drunken Steve? Steve? They are the enemy and a threat to the ship. Neutralizing them demands decisive action. Was it necessary to torture them? The Rabble understands only one language, Lord Captain. That of violence. As per regulations, should the laborers persist in their unwillingness to cooperate, the next step is limiting air supply and cutting off water, which is certain to restore order. That is crazy. I'm learning a lot about the Warhammer universe with this viewpoints. The peasants can grumble all they want, but in the end, they are the source of their own misery. All they have to do is bow their heads and fall in line, and the need for punitive measures will disappear. We were attacked. How do you explain that? Here's an explanation for you. The people have been pushed to their limit, and now they're lashing out. As if we don't know why those top deck units are being sent down here, like that one that the lieutenant won't let past. Our clan's all inside the bay that's been sealed off, but the lower decks are big. I'm sure there are some people who have had just about enough. We're getting it from all sides. The soldiers has encircled the ones who've risen up. A death squad has just arrived. It's no wonder folks are lashing out. Oh, we got a awareness test succeed. The words seem sincere to you. Their body language and the glances traded between them reveal that the news of the attack has shocked them. That's a nice awareness test to succeed in. Again, this makes no sense. Is it because we have 135, which guarantees it? Is that why? I don't know. What changes do you want? Would you look at this? The exalted Lord Captain himself is asking us Billshreds what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damned enforcers, to quit turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here, and we want to be armed. Give us arms, and we'll cover. I don't know about that one. We'll defend ourselves if these cultists do show their faces. I've been leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here. You've gone too far, old Nan. They'll never let maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on the enforcers on the upper decks too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day is out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbor out of their stupidity or drunkenness. Those are my thoughts exactly. Also, it's never good to get a insurrection or mutiny guns. We don't need that. If the enforcers stop hassling us, that'll be enough. In return, we'll find scavengers who rob the cultists' bodies, and we'll talk to them, one lower decker to another. If there are any more of those damned amulets about, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves. I like this other stager. You speak for yourself and your clan, and I'll speak for me and mine. I don't want empty gestures, I want real change. They'll promise us the world now, but as soon as the Anointed One turns his back, these brutes will be on his even harder than before, all because we dare to speak out. The tall worker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders. Every few seconds he opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval. Okay, so I think that's simple. You will lose profit factor -1. Oh, interesting. So I can see that? Yeah, I'm not gonna give them weapons. I'm not gonna do that either. I don't want to ask Abelard for thoughts though, because he just said that he's not very happy voicing them. Let's say the Master of Arms. Give the Rabble a grox, and they will take an angry world, Lord Captain. They only understand brute force, and I will. Okay, that was pointless to answer. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw those demands, and we will consider the rest. Yeah, we'll go with that. The tall worker they call Rivet shrugs and casts a sidelong glance or look at the woman. Old Nan, listen! The Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions, and I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who's ever stood next to the road trader, let alone talk to them. Back down. Now's no time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Listen to us, old man. The three clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made up our minds. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband their enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me. Is that it? So brave you're against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will, indeed. I won't go against two clan leaders on my own. If you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. That's great, just fantastic. Lord Captain, we all agreed. The persecution will stop, and I will expect you... Yeah, let's... then it stopped. I lose fuel and some provisions. Your Lordship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. I'll tell my grandchildren about this. Of course, Your Lordship. We'll root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers, and we'll leave no stone unturned. I think all that went rather well. We can now talk to the Seneschal in calmer surroundings. I think we'll want to potentially look around a bit more to see if there are goods, and indeed there are. There's a multi-key, add that to the pile, then say collect that to the cargo list. Let's move on. I think that's about it actually. Where do I exit this place? Was it over here somewhere? Let's just follow our guys as they move around. It's over here somewhere, right? Yeah, there it is. Abelard's gonna voice his concerns. Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance and addresses your other companion, saying, I have an urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please give us a moment. Abelard looks at you and his last vestige of restraint vanish. Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed to the disloyal Rabble. You believed their lies and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by cultists, that Rabble will welcome them in with open arms and allow them to wreak whatever havoc they like, because they see you as a weak leader. Fair enough. Is that how you see your future at the helm of the Von Valencia's protectorate? Let's acknowledge that there is some truth in his criticism. I should say so, Abelard heaves a sigh, but he visibly relaxes. You simply needed to trust me. I do. I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene. Remember Lord Captain Theodora? Do you think she ever set one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers while she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the Protectorate, as any true strategist of Rogue Trader ought. I think I'll go for the middle option here. I would be only willing to trust in you and fill my head with such manner, but the situation had spiraled. Ablard's face relaxes slightly. You're right. At least as it concerns junior officers making complaints directly to you. And Abelard stands straight at attention. I lost my temper. Yeah, he backed down a bit. The others were too confronting, and I believe I ought to explain myself. Abelard speaks slowly, the words not coming easily to him. The prosperity of the Von Valencia's protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for that chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw it in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds. They create order out of anarchy. That creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left behind everything I had known, everything my family had known. I came from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all her concerns she had no time for. She would go off on her flagship for long periods to distant frontiers or scouting voyages, and the investments of the entire Protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then suddenly everything that had been built over years and years began to quake. Yeah, it's the stress factor rattling like a flimsy hanger on a seismically active world. Yeah, so he might not admit it, but seems like he's been stressed out with all the responsibility. One of the senior officers betrayed us all. The rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on their planets. I tell you this honestly, without fear of appearing weak. All this has come to a grievous blow as me. Yep, that's basically what he's saying there. I'm not panicking or grieving because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I'm duty bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from your problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out in the ship's regulations. Procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades cannot suddenly be deemed excess to requirements. I'm between the two top options here. The third one is also available, but I think like this line here insinuates that I will just put the same amount of pressure on Abelard, and I don't think I want to do that. I think I'll go for option 2. Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest, your resolve is admirable and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. And now, please, let us leave the lower decks. If the rogue trader decides to stretch his legs, there are far more suitable places. That's one hell of an insinuation. Oh, we leveled up as well. Nice. Let's deal with the level ups as soon as we reach the decks again. Alright, here we are. I will deal with the level ups now. Getting more ballistics would be nice, especially because that rounds it up. But just getting a bit more agility for both crit and initiative and so on also feels like a good option, since that agility is also one of the main stats for the soldier's abilities, your run and gun example and revel in slaughter. As for common talent, I don't know when I'm gonna get a flamethrower of some kind, but I am leaning towards getting a flamethrower at some point. So whenever I had or get one, I want to be an expert in wielding one. So we'll complete that level up. Here we come with Abelard then. Let's see. Toughness is good for HP. I could also go Weapon Mastery. Damage contra Toughness. I mean, I only have one tank, so I do think that Toughness is what I'm gonna go for here. I think I want Dueling Master because that gives me a 15% bonus to parry. So I'm gonna go for that. That should have me at 95% chance now to parry, which seems quite high. It's basically a way to avoid damage alongside the armor, but parrying is just for melee stuff. Oh boy, we got an ability with Idira, hey? Give me a moment. I think sensory deprivation sounds pretty good. I can basically remove 30 points of ballistics and weapon skill and 30 dodge, so they are not only terrible at hitting me, since ballistics is your chance to hit, and so is weapon skill just for melee, but they're also easier to hit with dodge and parry, since that is reduced by 30. They also suffer a -5 penalty to all characteristics, which could decrease it even further. And they have to do 2 successes, so it could last for a long time, which could be useful for powerful enemies. As for my skills, I don't have any law warp, so that could be an option. Logic is an option. Tech use is an option. While these guys, or logic and tech use, is recommended, I am gonna gamble on the fact that I will get a character that is better at this, because all of my guys currently are trash. So I assume by that logic that at some point I will find a companion that is good at tech use and logic and what I don't have already. That might be a stretch, but I am gonna gamble. I'm gonna specialize Idira as a law warp person, or just law in general. Maybe not Imperium, since I'm focused on that. So we could go for law Xenos and law warp, and maybe even awareness as a third stat. With that being said, let's do Argentus level up. I think I'm gonna go with agility, since he's just better than anyone else I have at that. And she can always hit with her sniper rifle right now. So as for common talent though, well, this would have been good if my main dude wasn't a soldier. That's unfortunate. This sounds good. If I understand that right, that's a +5, excluding Xenos. I don't know if Cassia is Xenos. I'll take a look at that. But if it's not, that's just a +5 to everyone else, to the same characteristic as her. So I'll complete that, I suppose. Yeah, this is a bit worrying, the homeworld unknown thingy here. I don't know if she's a Xenos. Can I check? Holy smokes! Hello? All enemies within the area, and it's a big ass area, excluding like a few little zones here. So it's basically a full 5x5 minus what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little cells. Can suffer a 22 penalty to willpower and toughness. And since her previous things, this right here is based on, no, not that one. Bibbidi-bobbidi-boo. I think her main ability is based on willpower. So reducing both willpower and HP by 22 stats sounds like it's very good. As for common talent, oh my god, so much reading. Well, hello. The Navigator heals 6 HP at the beginning of every turn and gains a +1 additional HP for every Navigator talent taken. And what are Navigator talents? Are these them? The healing increases by 1 for every creature killed in between the Navigator's turn. Is this the Navigator's talent? Or is this the ones? I think it's these ones, since that says talent. Might be something else. I'm gonna get this, because the 6 HP a turn is just too good to pass up, in my opinion. Alright, so we got regen on her. That's amazing. I think that's actually a good point to end off this episode, combined with the 10 minutes I recorded prior to the law book with Cassia. So I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye for now.